Okay, fellow geometers, first video of the year 2014-15. Let's go ahead and get started. On the screen here, you're going to see what looks like some sort of a parallelogram with a line and some points on it. What we're going to discuss in this first part of the unit is some definitions, some vocabulary surrounding planes, points, lines, rays, that sort of thing. So on this picture, a few things we'll point out. There are 5 total points. We have point A, B, C, D, and E. Point E, because of the way that it is off, outside of that parallelogram, does not fall on the plane. We'll talk more about planes in a moment. There's also a line here that essentially goes from here to here, okay? That line is called line L, and that's shown by that cursive L that you see up there in the upper left-hand corner. So let's go ahead and let's just talk about some vocabulary. Now get out your guided notes here. The first one we're going to talk about is the definition of a point. A point is a precise location or a place on a plane, okay? So even though it looks like point E up here at the top is not on the plane, it is on a plane. It just doesn't happen to be on the plane that we see here. Okay? So essentially, when you see a dot somewhere next to a capital letter, that's going to be a point. So how do we name points? Well, if we're looking up there at the top, essentially a point is named by putting a point and then putting like a capital letter next to it. That's how we name a point. Point A. Or you could have like point F, capital letter, okay? That's point. Second thing we're going to talk about is a line. A line is a straight, infinitely long, those are the key words there, a straight, infinitely long object that is made up of an infinite number of points. So the key about a line is that it does not end. Okay, lines do not end. So when we go back up to the top here and we look at our picture, the one that sticks out right off the bat is the one right here. Notice I'm putting the arrows at the end because lines always have to have arrows at the end to show that they continue on and on forever in both directions. That's super important. So how do we name this line? Well, we name lines one of two ways. The one way you see it here is with this cursive shaped L. So I'm going to go down here to the bottom and I'm going to put that first of all as one way we can name a line. We can name a line, let me go back to a pen here. We can name a line with a lowercase cursive letter. The other way that we can name a line, if we go back up, is you can name it using 2 points on that line. Now I have points A, B, and C that all fall on this blue line, so I'm just going to pick 2. I'm going to pick B and C. Okay? So how that looks is like this. I'm going to have to put both letters, capital B, capital C. That's not good enough. I need to also put the line above it with an arrow at both ends. The arrows are super important. If you don't put the arrows, then you're calling it something else. Super important. 2 different ways we can name a line. Third thing, collinear. Collinear means that you have a set of points that fall on the same line. Or another word we used is the word contained in a line. You'll see the word contained a lot too. Okay? So, how do we name collinear points? Well, we just got done saying that A, B, and C all fit on that line up there. So I could just put like point A, comma, point B, comma, point C. Those are all collinear points because they all fall on the same line, or they are contained in the same line. How about a line segment? A line segment is a portion of a line or a piece of a line that has 2 endpoints. So remember when we were naming the line, And I said, well, if you're going to use B and C, and you put that line above it, make sure that you put the arrows on both ends, like we did up here, because if you don't put the arrows on, then you're calling it something different. Well, if you don't put the arrows on, then you're calling it a line segment. So what I just drew here, the BC with the line above it, was really naming this segment right here from, hold on a second, sorry, from B to C. That's a line segment because it has an end point at both ends. Both ends. All right, a couple more here. Array kind of falls in between segment and line because it's a portion of a line, but it has only one endpoint, but it goes on and on to infinity at the other end, essentially something like this. Okay, if I go up to my picture, if I started, say, at A, let me pick purple. Okay, if I started at A, I'm sorry about that. It's acting funny on me. And went out this way. The purple thing there, that is a ray because it has one endpoint, but it goes to infinity at the other end. Okay. Now, ideally, we would have another point out there that we could use as part of our naming of this. Let's say that I'm just going to throw a point in there just for the sake of using it. Let's say we had point G here. That ray would be called ray AG because it starts at A and then it goes to infinity after it goes through G. So that would be ray AG. There are other rays that were already up there. I just chose not to use them. Okay. And then two more things here. We have a plane. A plane is a flat surface that travels to infinity in all directions. So think of like a piece of paper, if that piece of paper continued in all directions. All right, I actually put a couple of extra pictures over here to the right side. These kind of help show planes better. The planes up here are like this teal colored thing and this purplish blue thing. Those are planes. That's showing a plane. On our picture, the plane essentially is outlined with these black lines. So like this to here, you know, this shows a plane. Although it looks like it's contained, like it's a box, those go, all those go to infinity, so really it doesn't end. It goes forever. And we name that with this capital cursive letter N. So a plane is named, in this case we named it with the capital N. In other cases, you could also use 3 or more points on that plane. So in that case, you would write plane A, B, C. It must be 3 or more points in order to name the plane. Okay. Lastly, coplanar is just like collinear, but you have the word plane right in there. Just like collinear has the word line right in there. Coplanar are objects that are contained in the same plane. So in that case, you would just be listing those objects. Like, for instance, point A, point B, and point C all fell on this plane, and point D as well. So we could also put point D. Those are some basics of naming points, lines, and planes.